Hey, what's up guys? We've already reviewed Samsung's Galaxy Note 10 Plus, but now let's see what the regular Note 10 brings to the table. It's of course cheaper than the Plus, but what sorts of trade-offs come with the savings? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Galaxy Note 10 review. The Galaxy Note 10 is one of this year's more premium flagships, and will definitely draw some attention on the street. With a design this shiny, it's bound to turn some heads. The Aura glow finish is sort of a metallic silver, though it's hard to put your finger on it. When it catches some light, it erupts into a rainbow of different colors. There's also an Aura pink model, if that's your thing. I'm not really a fan of the Note 10's sharp edges and corners. Galaxy Notes have always been a bit box-like, but this one has an even more angular look. The form factor here is smaller and lighter than the Note 10 Plus. It isn't really a compact phone, but definitely more pocket-friendly. Everything feels quite sturdy, and since there's IP68 dust and water resistance, you can bring it anywhere with no worries. On the front is a 6.3-inch curved dynamic AMOLED display. It's smaller than the Note 10 Pluses, and the resolution is less too, 1080p here instead of QHD. Samsung calls it an Infinity O display because of the bezel-less look and the round hole punch cut out for the selfie cam. It's pretty small, and I like that it sits dead center instead of off to the side. This screen is gorgeous, as you'd expect from a Samsung flagship. Though it isn't quite as sharp as the Note 10 Plus, you still get a pixel density of 401 ppi, and of course, deep blacks typical of an AMOLED. Colors are pretty accurate, except for a slight green tinge of the grays, which we could only get rid of after some custom slider tuning. Maximum brightness is quite good, comparable to the Plus model. You have 340 nits maximum in manual mode, and up to 800 nits in auto mode in bright conditions. There's an always-on display, which you can use to keep track of the time and notifications while the phone is asleep. Or you can wake up the phone to check it with the under-display fingerprint reader. We've seen better on other phones. The sensor area itself is small, and if you're not careful, you can get missed readings from time to time. The wake-up animation is on the slower side too. Face unlock is another option, and quite fast, if you don't mind the lower security compared to a fingerprint. Just like Samsung's other flagship phones, the Note 10 has a stereo speaker setup, with the earpiece as the second speaker. Sound is great and well balanced, with excellent loudness in our tests. Unlike the Galaxy S10 series, sadly, this year's Note 10 phones have done away with the headphone jack. You can use USB-C headphones like the ones in the box, go wireless, or use an adapter, which you'd have to buy separately. I'm not a fan of this trend, but audio quality through headphones using the official Samsung adapter is great. There is good clarity, decent stereo separation, and loudness is higher than on the Plus model. One thing that's missing on the Note 10 is expandable storage, which you do get on the Note 10 Plus, but there is still 256 gigs on board, which should last for quite a while. The user interface of the Note 10 is Samsung's One UI over Android 9 Pie. If you've checked out a Samsung phone recently, everything will feel quite familiar. Accessing the app drawer is easy with simple swipes, but you will have to reach for the notification shade by default. Samsung has removed the dedicated Bixby button this year, though you can call up the assistant through the power button, which now sits on the left. If you're left-handed, that's great, but for everyone else, the button takes a bit of getting used to. You do have the option to remap the power button as a quick shortcut to apps or different functions. Pretty neat. The most unique part of the Galaxy Note series is of course the S Pen. It's the same size as before, and I'm impressed by how the Note 10 can recognize my terrible handwriting. One new feature is AR Doodle, where you can draw accessories and pictures on a subject being tracked by the camera. Speaking of the camera, now you can use the S Pen as a remote control for it, but I can't help but feel like it'd just be easier to ask someone else to take the shot for you. Powering all of these features is a Snapdragon 855 or Exynos 9825 chipset, depending on the market, along with 8 gigs of RAM. In comparison, the Note 10 Plus comes with 12 gigs, but I think 8 gigs is plenty. We got the Exynos version for review, and performance is excellent in benchmarks, as you'd expect. The Note 10 actually has an advantage over the Plus model in graphics performance, thanks to its lower screen resolution. Everything runs great in everyday tasks, but while gaming, we did see some heat buildup and thermal throttling. The Note 10 has a 3500 mAh battery, and even though it is smaller than the Note 10 Pluses, it still delivers some great battery endurance. It scored a rating of 92 hours in our proprietary tests, and screen on time is actually about the same as the larger model. With a bundled 25-watt charger, you can top up the battery super fast. We went from 0 to 57% charge in just half an hour. Just don't expect the Note 10 Plus's 45-watt charger to work with this one. There is wireless charging too. The Note 10 is a triple camera setup consisting of a 12-megapixel main cam with variable aperture, a 12-megapixel telephoto cam, and a 16-megapixel ultra-wide camera. There's no TOF sensor unlike on the Note 10 Plus, but otherwise it's all exactly the same. In broad daylight, shots taken with the main camera have plenty of detail and excellent dynamic range. There's hardly any noise. Shots taken with the telephoto cam have 2x zoom, and they look good. There's nice detail and basically no noise. Colors are just as lively as from the main cam, and dynamic range is pretty good. The ultra-wide cam gives you colors and dynamic range consistent with the other two cameras, and distortion correction helps to counteract the fisheye effect at the edges. There is no autofocus here, so extreme close-ups aren't recommended. Moving on to portrait mode. We were worried that the lack of a TOF sensor would mean worse portraits on the Note 10, but actually that isn't the case. You can use either the main cam or the telephoto to shoot with, and portraits look every bit as good as on the Note 10 Plus. There's excellent subject separation, and natural-looking defocus backgrounds. At night, regular shots with the main camera are excellent, thanks in part to its variable aperture. Photos have good detail, well-controlled noise, excellent dynamic range, and good color saturation. If you switch to night mode, you get an improvement in the definition around light sources, and their colors are better preserved too. Overall, color saturation gets a boost, and noise is smoothed out even further, at the expense of some fine detail. You can take regular nighttime shots with a telephoto cam, if it isn't too dark. Shots look decent, with good dynamic range and nice colors. If the light is below a certain threshold, however, the phone will switch to a 2x crop of the main camera. If you turn on night mode though, the phone sometimes opts to use the telephoto in these conditions instead. These definitely look a lot nicer. The ultra-wide camera is actually okay at night. Not amazing though. The shots are usable. With night mode turned on, you get boosted saturation and a brighter exposure, as well as lower noise. You do get a small drop in sharpness though. You can take selfies with a 10-megapixel front-facing cam, and these are great. There's autofocus, so no worries about how far away you're holding the phone. Selfies have excellent dynamic range, good detail, and nice skin tones. You can choose between the default cropped mode or a wider 10-megapixel shot. Now on to video recording. The Note 10 can shoot in up to 4K at 60 FPS with the main cam, and these look great. There's excellent dynamic range, lively colors, and a lot of fine detail. There is no electronic stabilization at 60 FPS though, only OIS. 4K videos at 30 FPS from the main cam have more fine detail and more natural processing. You also get electronic stabilization. If you shoot in 4K with the telephoto cam, you'll be at 30 FPS. Switching to 60 will cause you to take a crop from the main cam. Telephoto videos look nice, though there's noticeably more noise than the main camera. It is good to have stabilization here though. 4K videos from the ultra-wide camera are also in 30 FPS, and these are excellent, with great detail, low noise, wide dynamic range, and stabilization. One feature the Note 10 shares with the Plus model is live focus video, which gives you a blurred background behind the subject. We again had some doubts because of the lack of a TOF sensor here, but we were surprised. We actually like this footage better than on the Plus. It keeps up with the subject better, and the blur looks more natural. So that's the Samsung Galaxy Note 10. There are so many great features on this phone. The beautiful and compact waterproof design, the bright AMOLED display, excellent battery life, stereo speakers, great performance, and of course awesome cameras. And you have the S Pen with all of its functions. I'm sure I missed something here because this phone has it all. Or does it? Well, it doesn't have a headphone jack, and storage isn't expandable, and the power button's location might be annoying to some people. The fingerprint reader isn't the fastest either. But besides these nitpicks, there's nothing really bad to say about it. I guess the question remains though, if you're interested, should you get the Note 10 or the Note 10 Plus? For me personally, I prefer the Note 10's compact size. The Plus model just feels a little too big. And regardless of the cut down in features, the smaller Note 10 is still an excellent phone, and worth a recommendation. Thanks for watching guys, and see you on the next one.